Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars, and thank you for watching. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, leave a like, and feel free to comment down below what you would like me to do for future guitar and music-related videos. So today, we are talking about fake Gibsons periodically appearing on Goodwill, or more specifically, Shop Goodwill. Although I guess technically you can see them at a store. I personally never seen a fake Gibson at a store, nor have I ever seen a real Gibson at a Goodwill store. Most of the time they end up putting those online because they know they'll make decent money. I'm shooting myself in the foot here for not getting a screenshot of it while I had the chance. But there was a fake Gibson, basically a husk of a fake Gibson. All the electronics were out of it, all the hardware was out of it, just the pots were there. Tuners were gone. Nothing. A lot of it was sanded down, but basically it was just a shell. And the price that it was at when I last saw it was like $450, and it is not worth that. You can go buy a Gibson right now off of AliExpress for like $300, and that comes with everything: pickups, whole thing's finished, hardware, etc. Not that I recommend it, because 50-50 with the quality, you're better off just going with an LTD or an Epiphone or something that looks similar, that's an actual brand, because of quality control issues. But be wary that they are out there, and it fooled somebody because they just spent all this money on something. They're like, oh, sweet, I'm going to put all the parts back together on it, have this really cool guitar, and then someone's going to tell them you just put $400 worth of parts in a $100 guitar. And they're going to be super, super annoyed. And the interesting thing was, the truss rod cover wasn't even on this one. So you could actually clearly see that it did not take the standard Gibson truss rod wrench. Which, if you're not familiar with it, the end of this, see how it's basically it's a socket. It's a 5/16 socket. This is what a Gibson wrench looks like. A lot of them, this is an off-brand one because I never got one with my Gibson when I bought it used, so I just went out and bought one. A lot of them have like a little screwdriver tip on the back of them so you can take off the cover. That is your standard Gibson truss rod wrench. I think there are maybe a couple that don't have that truss rod, but I'm going to say 99.9% of Gibsons have to use that wrench in order to get the truss rod adjusted on them. This guitar clearly had one of these. This is an Allen wrench. Some people call it a hex wrench, whatever you prefer. And this is what goes in most other guitars. Basically, this is kind of the go-to for pretty much everything else. Fender uses these, even the American lines. Pretty much all Chinese, Indonesian, Korean, pretty much everybody, I think, besides like Taylor, Martin, and Gibson, you are going to be using an Allen wrench. So for Gibson specifically, a lot of the overseas people don't realize this, or don't bother to pay attention to the detail because they're selling the guitar for $300, is they put in the other type of truss rod because it's easier, it's cheaper, they get them in bulk, it's not as hard as the Gibson truss rod to install from what I've been told. So that's pretty much all you need to know about that, is that they will use that style truss rod, and basically it's an instant red flag. You can instantly tell it's not a real Gibson. And that clearly wasn't. So you have to watch out. I'm not blaming Goodwill, and the reason I'm not blaming Goodwill is because they don't have professionals. They don't always know what they are selling. So if they get a guitar that says Gibson on it, they're not going to know whether or not it's real or fake. There are very few instances where they will actually get a professional to look at something, and that is only if they know it is something that is of very, very high value. For instance, if somebody said, oh, I found this 1959 Les Paul in my grandpa's attic, and they just said, here you go, Goodwill, which I pray that never happens to somebody because you just lost out on a lot of money. They'll probably get it checked out, but 9 out of 10, they go with what they see. So if they say Gibson on the headstock, whether it's real or fake, that's what it's going to get listed as. And unfortunately, in this case, somebody got shit out of luck with it. They got screwed and bought something that wasn't real, and are probably going to either realize that after they get it, or maybe it was a good Samaritan that just wanted to get it off the market, because I have seen people do that before, where they'll spend money and they just have a horde of Gibsons lying around that they've modified to play because they don't want them in the market, interfering with the actual Gibson brand, which makes sense to me. But you just got to be wary. You got to watch out. Honestly, I bought one guitar off of Goodwill, and I was very disappointed. I think I have pictures still, so I might do a video about that in the near future. But basically, they said it was a Mighty Mite guitar, so I was like, oh, it's a Mighty Mite guitar kit. And it kind of was, but it wasn't. The body wasn't Mighty Mite. The pickups and electronics didn't work at all, which that was kind of 50-50 going into it anyway. I managed to make it work, so yay me for figuring out how to solder to a certain extent. I actually called them ahead of time and asked them, I was like, can you please run your hand up and down the neck and tell me if it's sharp? They told me it's not sharp. Guess what happened when I got it? It was super sharp, so I learned how to deal with fret nibs that day. Taped off the guitar neck, did all of that. I believe that the neck was probably a Mighty Mite neck as well, but basically a book came with it, and some kid took a guitar class, built a guitar, didn't like it, didn't finish it. I thought it looked kind of neat, and I was like, oh, I'll spend $150 on it, whatever it was. And then I got lucky, because I found somebody that wanted to give me a couple of pedals that were, it was basically I broke even, so it wasn't the end of the world. But I found somebody that wanted to trade me a couple of guitar pedals for it, so that's what I did. Traded people the guitar pedals for it, and then I ended up breaking even. So yay me, I got lucky. But you just got to be careful, because you can be getting a piece of crap off of a Goodwill. I mean, honestly, if you find something cheap, $150, $200, it's not going to be the end of the world unless you're like a kid and have no money. Then you're a little bit screwed. But just go to Reverb, even go to eBay. They kind of have better buyer protection. Reverb is definitely the best place for musical items. Sweetwater. Couple other online retailers that sell you. I'll even take Guitar Center at this point. You're going to pay more money, but you're going to have a better guarantee if there's something wrong with the instrument. Like in my case, there was something massively wrong with the instrument, and I probably would have returned it. But of course, they don't really have a return policy. They basically say, described as it is, you get what you get. So that's all there is really to it. Watch out for fake guitars. Try to call ahead of time if you can. Call the store. Hopefully you get a decent employee that will actually describe the item to you before you bid on it, because that is one of the plus sizes, is that item is physically in a store somewhere. So you can just look up the store number, give them a call, ask them about that item, and ask them questions. In this case, I was talking to somebody that didn't know what I was talking about, so I had to deal with it, which was not particularly fun. You live and you learn, you move on. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. As I said, be wary and always take a look at the truss rod if you're buying a Gibson. That is the #1 giveaway. Easiest thing to do, you remove 2 screws. Heck, you can probably even remove 1 screw and just knock it over and see if it takes that truss rod wrench. And 9 out of 10, if it doesn't have that truss rod wrench, stay away from it. Do not buy it because it's fake, unless you're getting it for $100 as a knockaround guitar, because then who really cares? My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars, and thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one.